So I just wanted to come on here and once again say thank you so much for all of the support I've gotten over the past few videos that I've uploaded. I appreciate all of them so much. I never would have thought so many people would be interested in watching me clean out my mom's house. I'm just overwhelmed by the response that I've gotten. So thank you to every single one of you out there who liked and commented and subscribed. I appreciate all of you so much. I did get a lot of questions in the comments section. I just wanted to talk about those. There were quite a few questions people kept asking, so I just thought I would make a video and answer them. And I apologize in advance for me blinking so much. Watching my videos back, I've realized how annoying it could be. I'm really sorry about that. I do have dry eyes, so that's why I blink so much. I should probably just use eye drops, but I find them kind of annoying, so I just don't. So I apologize for all the blinking. So first question, why don't you hire an estate sale company or an auction house? I have thought about that. The few of them I've contacted have been really expensive. I don't know if I want to spend the money on that. I don't know if I'm at the point yet where I'm desperate enough to hire an estate sale company. I might do that in the future. I'm just the type of person where I like to do everything myself. I'm independent. I don't want anything to get sold that I wanted to keep. That's my biggest fear, is something going out the door that wasn't supposed to go out the door. I don't know, I mean, I might hire one. I'm not really on a deadline to get the house empty, so I kind of just take my time at it. I do live out of town, so it is kind of a trip for me to come over to the house and work on it, but luckily I work from home and I have a flexible schedule, so I can just take time off when I need it and come up and work at the house. As far as, a lot of people mentioned auction houses. Me and my mom had a really bad experience with the auction houses when my dad passed away. He had a lot of business equipment and a lot of office equipment we had to get rid of. So my mom called an auction house for some of it. They came and got it. We had to pay a delivery charge to transport it to their facility. And basically they just put it on eBay for $10 a piece. It was commercial sewing machines. I mean, my dad spent hundreds of dollars on each one. That was like back in the 70s. So I don't know what they would have sold for today. I'm pretty sure they would have sold for more than $10. But that's what they did. They put them on eBay. There was only one bidder, so they bought them for $10. And we just ended up losing a bunch of money because we had to pay for the transportation costs, which was way more than any profits that we made. So my mom was just really upset about that. And that just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth about auction houses. They don't really care how much they sell stuff for as long as they move it. That's kind of all they care about. Also, another bad experience me and my mom had was we had a couple storage units that had more of my dad's business equipment in it. We didn't really know what to do with it, so we called an auction house who specializes in storage units. One of the storage units had this really expensive, like $5,000 fabric cutting machine. This was, like, he paid $5,000 for it back in the 80s. So it wasn't, it wasn't cheap. It was a pretty big piece of equipment. The auction company sold it for $750, so we just lost a ton of money on that. The other storage unit went for $5, which also had some commercial washer and dryers, a bunch of football uniforms and equipment, some other random stuff. So $5 for all of that was pretty despicable. So I don't really care to call an auction house. I feel they'll just come in and sell everything for pennies on the dollar, and that's not really what I want to happen to my mom's stuff. I would rather just sell it myself, and even if it's more work, I'll just do that. So that's why I'm sure there are some great auction houses out there that do great work, but those were the negative experiences that I've had, so it kind of just turned me off to the whole auction house idea. Next question I got is, where am I located? I am in Arizona. Next question, was I aware of my mom's hoarding? Yes, I was aware of it. I had been to her house right before she passed away, like 1 to 2 months. I did come up here because I had to get some stuff out of the house for her, take it over to the hospital. So I did see what the house looks like, kind of in the state it was in when I showed you in my first video. So yes, I was aware of it. Do I know what led to her hoarding? I have some idea. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know exactly what causes people to hoard. I can just give you some background information. As far as I know, when my mom was younger, in her 20s and 30s, she was not a hoarder. She was kind of, just average, maybe a minimalist. She moved a lot, so she couldn't really have a lot of things because it was just too much to move. So she just kept her stuff to a minimum. When she met my dad, she was in her late 30s. Looking at old photos during that time era, the house looked pretty decent. I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. Soon after I was born, my mom got really into like the sewing, crafting hobby. She had a sewing room in the house we lived in. It started out really clean, not that much in there. Over the years, it started to get really cluttered. We lived in that house for about 8 years. By the time we moved out, it was pretty packed. But it was just her sewing area. The rest of the house looked really normal. We moved out of state when I was about 10. We had to downsize our house by about 40%. My parents did not get rid of any of their stuff, so pretty much all of their stuff they had at their old house, they just crammed it into the new house. So the entire house just looked cluttered. I don't think either of them were really a hoarder at that point. We just had a lot of stuff going from a big house to a small house. My parents did have a lot of friction in their marriage. I remember they would argue a lot. After they were done arguing, my mom would go out shopping, buy a ton of stuff, bring it home. My dad would be upset and they'd have another argument. I feel like my mom went shopping as a form of control and power, because I've heard it said when you go shopping, it's kind of like a dopamine hit, and people get addicted to that, especially if their partner tends to be overbearing or very controlling. The other person feels like they don't have any control over anything, so they go shopping, which gives them that power, that sense of control. Kind of like, I mean, I've felt like that sometimes when I would go shopping. It's like, oh, I'm going to exchange my money that I worked for this tangible item. You know, I'm making that decision. I'm in control. I'm making this transaction right now because it makes me feel powerful and like I'm doing something productive, even though you're really not. So that's kind of where my mom's compulsive shopping came from. My parents were just really in a bad marriage. And I think after my dad passed away, which was about 20 years ago, the hoarding got a lot worse. I think my mom just got lonely. She didn't have that many friends in her town. The friends she did have lived out of state. She got into a big argument with her sister, which I won't go into details about that, but she basically just stopped talking to her, so she lost her sister and that whole side of her family. I think that contributed to the loneliness, and she retired, so she kind of just stayed home all day. She didn't have that people interaction that you get when you're working. She doesn't socialize, she doesn't go out, she doesn't date people. She just stayed home, and you know, she had the internet and a credit card, so she just went shopping all day. During, you know, the last few months before she passed, I was looking over her bank statements, and she was just spending $30 to $40 a day buying fabric that she never used. It's still sitting here in the house in the packaging. She was just buying all these quilting supplies. I've never seen her actually make a quilt. I don't know why. She just kept buying all the supplies. She kept buying all the fabric, but she never used it. It was just a high to buy fabric, I guess. So that was kind of her life for, I would say, the last 10 years of her life. And people say I should have done something. I don't know if it was my duty to step in and do something. I feel like people are going to live their life the way they want to live it. If she wanted help, I would have been more than happy to help her in any way she needed. But I tried talking to her about her stuff, and she would just not listen, or it was just in one ear and out the other ear. She would change the conversation topic. She just wouldn't admit that she had a problem. And if people can't admit they have a problem, they're not gonna do anything to fix it. You know, like, people don't change unless they want change. You can't force somebody to change who doesn't want to change. She didn't think she had a problem. I guess that's just the delusion of hoarding. They just don't realize what they're doing, or if they do realize it, they just think it's normal, or I don't know. I'm not well trained in that area. I'm sure there's psychologists out there who can better answer the question about why people hoard. I'm just giving some background information on what I observed in my family growing up and what I've witnessed my mom doing. So people ask, well, why didn't you clean out her house while she was still living? And that, I don't really see the point of doing that. It's still the same amount of work, only if she was still living here, she would be, breathing down my neck about how she doesn't want to get rid of anything. And it would just be a big argument. So I just kind of waited for her to pass away, and then I knew this project was coming for me, so I can just do with it what I want. I just work a lot faster on my own without her hovering over me, ripping stuff out of my hands, yelling at me that she wants to keep it, even though she hasn't used it in 30 years. And it's just hard to reason with people like that. They just don't, the connection in their brain just isn't there. So I just let it go. I just said, well, that's her life. That's the way she chooses to live her life. I am still her daughter. I'm going to support her in whatever she does, as long as it's not illegal or unethical. So I just, you just gotta love them while they're here, and I guess that's all you can do. And just prepare yourself for the project afterwards. So that's kind of the background story of my mom's hoarding. It is what it is. So next question I got was, a lot of people said I shouldn't rent the house, I should just sell it, that landlording is very time consuming and demanding. I do agree, landlording is very time consuming and demanding. I've been a landlord for about 15 years with rental property. The first 10 years, it's a very eye-opening experience dealing with tenants. I have horror stories I could write a book about, of just tenants screwing me over. But I enjoy owning rental property. I think it's a very good investment. So I just kind of learned to deal with the tenants for about 10 years. And then I just couldn't deal with them anymore. So I hired a property management company, and they deal with my tenants. So even if I do rent this house, I would hire a property manager, and they can deal with all of that, and I just get money deposited into my bank account every month. But I think I am going to keep the house for a summer house, at least for this year. After I move out of state, if I move out of state, it will be a rental house. I will add it to my rental portfolio. I really enjoy owning rental properties. I think it's a great way to make passive income. It's how I somewhat support myself, is with my rental income. There are a lot of ups and downs about owning rental property. That's a whole other video I can get into. But I do recommend hiring a property management company if you're going to get into rental properties. Those were the questions that I got asked a lot. So I hope this was helpful. I hope I gave you a bit more background information about me and about my situation, and I hope it can help somebody out there. And if you have any more questions or want me to go into more detail about anything, just leave a comment. Maybe I'll do another Q&A video. Otherwise, I will see you at the next update.